For example, if the child is rejecting pumpkin, whenever you make pumpkin sabji at home, you don't have to worry and get stressed about it. I mean, pumpkin is not the only vegetable out there. There are so many other vegetables that you can try. So focus on the other ones. Wait for a while. Maybe offer a pumpkin soup after a while. Maybe offer pumpkin pasta after a while. There are other methods through which you can introduce pumpkin again, right? So consistency and being patient is what matters.
Hi guys, today's conversation is going to be a very important one because we're talking about the foundation years of a child. And you know, the question that we get most often on Kidsstoppress is how to raise a fussy eater, or how do I make sure that my child eats everything, or what should I do if my child is starting on solids, or how do I go about planning my child's meals, or what should I give my child every single week, or what should an infant's meal plan look like. Or, you know, parents are of course very excited when a child first starts their solid meals. I would just say one thing that is very important is that you know, as a parent, it's always very confusing because we are raising children in the internet and grandmom age. So we are kind of a sandwich generation, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I started Kidsstoppress. And it's very important that in all the baby raising that you do not forget your instinct and your gut as a parent. And of course, today we're going to talk about baby-led weaning with Maya's Amma, aka Swati Jagdish, or should I say Swati Jagdish, aka Maya's Amma, because she's become a face of her own now. And this is exactly what we're going to be chatting about, because each time we send out you know, our newsletters, which are exclusively created for infants, where we're talking about, you know, each week how you should try something new with your child, and you know, how you should go about the process and a customized meal plan for your child, especially after the 6 months, because I know a lot of mums are stuck with what to feed. That's the time it becomes extremely important to have something like that, which can be more of a guiding, you know, more like a guiding light to you guys. Hey Swati.
Hi.
First up, thank you for doing this. It's always such a pleasure to chat with you.
No problem.
And love how you're sharing really pertinent topics. And what I love about your page is that you're never shying away from being big, bold, and just upfront, right? Which is what's fabulous. How did your journey with baby-led weaning start, and how did you go about the process with your daughter?
Okay, so 7 years back, when I had my child, I came across some nice Facebook groups, and one of which was breastfeeding support for Indian mothers. And that group helped me and a lot of mothers in their breastfeeding journeys. And being in that group, I also figured out there are other things that you can do as a parent, one of which is baby-led weaning. And then you can try baby carriers, you can use cloth diapers, you can do gentle parenting, you can do so many of these things.
Style? What is Swati's style?
I did all these things. So I was part of all these groups, so I just followed everything to the T. Now, another big reason why I followed all these things, because I made a group of like-minded mothers in my city. We all came together to follow the same thing. So since we were there to support each other, we all just continued breastfeeding. We all tried baby-led weaning. We just jumped into it without even knowing what's going to happen in future. I mean, nowadays, this is what I tell participants also who attend my workshops. Nowadays, you know what's going to happen to these kids when they are 5 or 6 or 7. When we were starting, we never knew how these things would even pan out in the future.
Right.
We had never seen toddlers who were 5 or 6 or 7 who were baby-led weaned at 6 months. Right. So we were a bunch of mothers who just jumped into it. But now mothers are able to see our kids who followed all these so-called modern techniques and are thriving. So this is just a method that if you want, you can follow. There is no rule or there is no mandatory thing like, you know, baby-led weaning only will work. This is the best technique out there. Nothing like that. It is one of the techniques that you can follow. That's all.
So tell me, for everybody who's joined in and is not familiar with baby-led weaning, and me, I mean, I didn't practice baby-led weaning with my kids because, again, this was 12 years ago. Back in the day, there was not much information. Tell me, how did you go about doing it? And also, um, maybe I think I practiced baby-led weaning without knowing that it is baby-led weaning because there was no terminology back then.
Yeah.
Advantages of the process.
Yeah. So when I started, obviously none of us knew what we were doing. We just jumped into it because the Facebook group had some mothers who were doing it, and their babies were all eating by themselves from 6 months. And we used to be really tempted watching these babies' videos. That was what actually pulled us into this. Even now, a lot of mothers are jumping into this mainly because they've seen these videos of little babies eating by themselves. That is the number one motivator. So it was the same for me. So what I did first was I made my family aware of the fact that I am going to do this. So none of us know about this. I mean, even parents, our generation parents also don't know about it. So what about previous generation? They'll have no idea what this is. So I showed a lot of videos to my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. I made them understand that this is what we're going to do with Maya, and they were reluctant in the beginning, but then as Maya showed a lot of progress in eating by herself, they all just gave in. They all just like, okay, fine, you do whatever you want. This seems to be working. So yeah, and the main advantage of baby-led weaning is that baby is leading the way. So as the title indicates, baby-led weaning, baby is leading the way towards weaning. So we are completely just following the baby's cues and not taking any initiative to feed the child. So there is no spoon feeding, there is no hand feeding. We're just allowing the baby to do what it wants to do, and we are not cooking anything separately for the baby. We are just giving whatever we are eating as a family. We're just making a baby-friendly version without salt, sugar, etc. for the baby, and we're just giving the same thing to the baby to eat. That's all.
Okay, so now I think I did pretty much the same thing because
I know so many mothers intuitively have done the same thing. I know. Yeah.
Mom always told me that traditionally, I was one of four, right? So I was the youngest. So clearly my parents had just left me ke jao, you just fend for yourself. So clearly I pretty much picked up everything on my own, and my mom was also a working mom. So she would literally give me like a thali with good roti, whatever, and as a snack. Intuitively, what do you do if food is in front of you, right? You will break it, you will eat it, and that's how we grew up, right? So my mom keeps telling me that we never spent so much time feeding our children because we didn't have the time.
Yeah.
So in many ways, I feel yes, we have a terminology for it now, but while you say that our ancestors, our grandmothers, etc., never did it, but maybe they did it, but they didn't know the terminology to it, right? What are the readiness questions we should know before we start them on baby-led weaning?
First one is completion of 180 days. So the child's gut completely gets matured only after 6 months. So wait for 6 months, 180 days. Number two, child should have lost tongue thrust. So if they're pushing out things with their tongue, if they're doing that, it means they have tongue thrust. Mostly that will go off by 4.5 months itself. Then hand to mouth coordination will start by 3-4 months itself. So they'll start practicing that by around that time. Natural curiosity and inclination to try things, leaning forward, opening their mouth and drooling, dribbling, all that will start off by 3-4 months. So that will start off. The most important readiness factor is the ability to sit in an unsupported position for some time. Yes. At least for some time. They don't have to crawl and go sit up by themselves. That milestone will take 9 to 10 months. We are not talking about that sitting milestone, but if the child can keep its body upright for some time, that will prevent choking. So we need to wait for the child to be able to sit in a tripod position at least for some time.
Tell me, does it also mean dissecting your food in many ways? So what I mean by that is, and like I said, I didn't term it that way, but if I would make something for my child, I would keep say the if I'm putting in veggies, then I would put the veggies separately so she would get the texture, smell, taste of that separately versus mashing and pureeing it. Is that what it is supposed to be? So
in baby-led weaning, we start with finger foods, soft finger foods, and at 6 months, since babies cannot pick small pieces, and because they can only grab onto large pieces because they only have a palmar grip, they don't have a pincer grip. So we focus on anything that is in the shape of an adult finger. Yeah. So any vegetable or fruit or any food item for that matter, even a dosa or idli, if it is cut into that long slice where the child can hold it using the entire palm. That's the kind of shapes we start with. And it should be in a very chewable consistency. So babies have their teeth inside their gums. So gums are very much capable to chew food. They don't use, the teeth is mainly for cutting food. We're not going to give them any hard foods that they have to cut into. We'll only give them food that can be smashed using 2 fingers. So any food that can be crushed using 2 fingers is the right consistency. So the food should be large enough for the child to hold in their palm, and it should be soft enough to be crushed or squashed in between 2 fingers. If that's the consistency, you can start off with any fruit, any vegetable, anything like idli, anything, you can start off from day one.
If I was to ask you 3 absolute no-nos of baby led weaning, what would those be?
Do not isolate the child. Don't keep a booster chair or a high chair in the corner of a room and then surround the child and then clap hands and encourage the child to eat and say good boy, good girl, all these kind of things you have to avoid. Children should be part of meal times. They should see the adults eating. They should see normal meal times. So when they sit at the table with the family, is mother or father encouraging grandparents to eat? Are the grandparents encouraging the parents to eat? No. They're just having a nice meal, maybe saying something in between. That's all. Everybody is just enjoying food. So that's what this baby has to see. So no isolating the child. Make the child part of the dining table if you have a dining table. Otherwise, sit down and eat. Number 2, do not say things like good girl, good boy, and if you eat, you're this, that, and all these things. So just keep quiet and let the child explore and enjoy the process. Another no would be don't start before the kid is ready. So there are a lot of readiness factors that you can check in babies, and wait for the readiness factors to come so that you're 100% sure that this method will work. Yeah.
And we often get this question, and I'm sure you got it too, which is, what if my child completely rejects a food and I've tried it multiple times? What should I do? Are aversions a normal practice?
Yeah, aversions are completely normal, expected, age appropriate even. Even in traditional weaning, babies do go through aversions. It's just that we will grind the food so much or hide it in between another texture or another color and mask it and give it off to the child. That's all. In baby-led weaning, it's quite evident that aversions happen because we can see the food as it is. We'll know what's happening. So according to popular nutritionists like Elaine Satter, we need to offer foods, a variety of foods, and then we need to offer a particular kind of food at least 20, 25 times, at least 30 times before coming to a conclusion that the child actually doesn't like it. So by just giving it 3 or 4 times, we should not come to a conclusion that the child clearly doesn't like it. Of course, if it's consistently showing indications that the child doesn't like it, you can take a break for that particular food. You don't have, for example, if the child is rejecting pumpkin, whenever you make pumpkin sabji at home, you don't have to worry and get stressed about it. I mean, pumpkin is not the only vegetable out there. There are so many other vegetables that you can try. So focus on the other ones. Wait for a while. Maybe offer a pumpkin soup after a while. Maybe offer pumpkin pasta after a while. There are other methods through which you can introduce pumpkin again, right? So consistency and being patient is what matters.
Yeah, and to all the mums, especially, that when my kids were young back then, I knew so many mums would get so much FOMO that I'm not making this red dal and green dal and purple dal and whatever. And I mean, I was just like, okay, I'm not doing extra work, or my child should eat what I eat because I don't have the time or the resources to make it red, blue, green every single day. But I know mothers went through a massive FOMO that I'm not doing this for my child. There is no prize to be won if your child eats dal which is only red or only green. I mean, I'm sure, Swati, you're going to agree with this. That you're as Indian mums, I think we assume that if we do more for our child in the kitchen, we deserve a special trophy or something. I don't know if you get a lot of students who say that as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, see, any popular food related book also, for that matter, most of these books have an entire chapter dedicated to making parents understand that food should not be equated to love. Yeah. There are plenty of other ways to show love. If you think food is the only way to show love, then 24/7 you'll have to be in the kitchen only cooking multiple things in different ways.
Absolutely.
So food should not be equated with love.
And food should also not be treated as a carrot, because ऐसा नहीं कि तुम ये खा लो तो मैं ये करूंगी, तुम ये खा लो. You know, food cannot be the carrot of good behavior or bad behavior, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of parents doing that, and you become a good boy or bad boy, like Swati said. Is if you eat this, you're a good boy. You eat this, you're a bad boy. Food cannot be a carrot for your love towards your child. You've got to love them unconditionally. Yes, I am that mom who secretly wished that there was an injection that all proteins, all minerals, everything just magically went in, and I didn't have to
Yeah.
enough. We've all wished that. So you're not a bad
Yes,
mother if
yes.
you have
Yeah.
that.
Of course. I've always wished Baikan, this cookies and brownies and all be good for the child. I mean, even Maya asked the other day, Amma, why are chocolates and all not healthy, Amma? Come on, it should have been a healthy version
Yeah, and you're
of
telling me,
food.
I tell my kids actually the chocolates are healthy, but the only secret that is I've got them used to some bitter chocolate that
Ah,
now it's become a healthier option.
yeah, yeah.
They will like a very very meetha chocolate. So automatically, as also I feel that in a very early manner and fashion, if you introduce your kids to bitter foods very early on, it tremendously
Mm,
as a parent, and I truly believe in the traditional Indian food wisdom, of adding the tadkas and the masalas and all of it that our grandparents taught us. Also to add to the regional context of it, right? We what would a typical South Indian baby-led weaning menu for a 7 or 8 month or 9 month old look like? Like I want to explore the regions of different parts of India to say what are the options that parents have.
No, that's what I said in the beginning. There is no special meal that you can start your baby-led weaning journey with. Anything that the family eats, the child can eat. I mean, in the beginning, if you want to just individually introduce fruits and vegetables, you can just start with steamed carrots on one day, steamed sweet potatoes on the next day, idli on the third day, steamed cauliflower on the fourth day, and then steamed apples on the next day. Just start with individual fruits and vegetables if you're worried to straight away go into cooked food. I mean, go into proper meals. But otherwise, you can start off with anything. See, when a child is ready for solids after 6 months, what does it mean? It doesn't mean the child is ready for ragi or ready for carrot or ready for, rice. It means the child is ready to digest anything other than breast milk and formula. That's all it's a meaning for introducing solids or readiness towards solids. The child is ready to digest anything other than breast milk and formula, which means anything under the sun you can give the child except few things. So barring few things, all the remaining items you can give. So just salt and sugar we are avoiding till 1 year. Honey anyway we are avoiding till 1 year because of botulism scare. Cow's milk we are avoiding till 1 year. Chilies maybe you can avoid till 1 year because it's quite a harsh spice. Otherwise, all the other spices, all the other condiments, all the other herbs, all kinds of healthy fat, anything and everything you can start after 6 months.
Right. Also, tell me, Maya, have you seen any studies or any correlation between kids who have been, who are moms who practice baby-led weaning and raising a fussy eater? Have you seen that the child is a less of a fussy eater if the mother followed BW?
There are a couple of studies that show that. See, these studies. I don't know if we can say baby-led weaning will not lead to fussy eating, but intuitive eating can lead to children who are not fussy and picky. If they should be intuitively eating, they should be in control of what they're doing. Nobody else should control them. Be it distraction-wise control or forcing-wise control or bribing or threatening or pleading. Some parents plead and beg their children to eat, right? So anything other than appetite you should not use to make your child eat. Your child should eat because it's hungry. That's all, simple. So if the child is hungry and if the child is completely in control of what they're doing, if nobody is forcing them, nobody is distracting them, then that is enough to make the child a healthy, competent eater in future. It's not just baby-led weaning that will bring about successful or parenting or competent eater or anything. Even if you follow traditional weaning for that matter, if you can transition your child from pureed and mashed foods into finger foods at a particular stage, at least by age 1, if you can do that. So you have 6 months time to gradually transition your child to finger foods or family foods. So if we can successfully do that from 1 year onwards, your child is self-fed. That's all simple. So traditional weaning is also a good method only.
Perfect. I think we've answered all the questions, Maya. Thank you so much for taking out time to do this and
No problem.
do the fabulous job that you do.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.